Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to nceling, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So I came across this video of a colored man who was trying to talk about, he said, his white black history, and then I looked at it. I was like, yo, it kind of makes sense why he said it's white black history, though it is black history. And then he was trying to shed light on what colored people did to black people over the years in their communities and all that. You all remember how black people are going to build like a very prospering community, and all of a sudden they tell you it was a riot that happened when it was a massacre, and how black men cannot even look at a white woman, because if you do, I mean, you have done something really very horrible, and they are going to say that he did something to me when he did not do anything. Are we talking about how they lost all their belongings from probably burning the community, and how they couldn't access their monies, and how they still move ahead to get another community which was also burned down? Let's get into this video.
Do you know how much effort it takes to drown a town of people? Think about that logistically, what that takes. I want to make a series here on TikTok and call it White Black History, because as a white person, I know we don't get taught the truth on America. I'll give you an example. It would be like the Tulsa massacre, where Black Wall Street is what we called it, an extremely wealthy black neighborhood, was beaten and burned down. Another one's like the Wilmington massacre in North Carolina in like 1898, where a group of white supremacists just decided to overthrow the local government that was biracial and then just kill all the black people. Show me that in your history book. Or you have like the Pe0ple and like the targeting of black leaders from like 1950 something to 1971, where basically it was an FBI initiated program that was designed to infiltrate and target black leaders, black communities, anybody who was really outspoken against things. We just don't learn these things. Like literally the FBI and the CIA have been involved in the disparagement, displacement, and eradication of black people and their wealth for ever. Then when somebody brings it up, we sound crazy because you haven't heard it in a textbook in 6th grade. Why would we teach you you're the bad guy? It's crazy. It's crazy the amount of things that we don't get taught that are actual things. There were several black towns that were drowned. Drowned. Think about that for a minute. Do you know how much work and effort it takes to drown a town because you don't like what they look like? Oscarville, Georgia, Choctaw City, Alabama, Seneca Village in New York, more recent, Cowalinga, Alabama, Freedmen's Towns in Texas. That's black white history, though. Do you know how much effort it takes to drown a town of people? Think about that logistically, what that takes.
Not very much, depending on the year, and that's terrible. I happened to stumble across this very topic last year. There's a ton of them. But anyways, I'm going to follow because I want to see where you're going and what you're doing, because I think it's a cool concept. And I also I've never really thought about the fact that history just gets told by the people who win versus what really happened, and I don't like that either. But I didn't know if you kind of sucked or if you were fucking dope ass dude, so I checked out your page and flipped through the thumbnails, and I don't know any lame white dudes with black wives or girlfriends, but definitely wives. All those guys are, every single one of them I know are funny as fuck, and usually not big crybabies, coming from like a meh perspective. So, pretty pumped about it. Hope you found some cool shit. There's a ton of towns that were flooded.
Burnt down these black neighborhoods, but they also burnt down a black newspaper. Today we're going to talk about the Wilmington massacre that happened in North Carolina in 1898. I think it was November 10th. Some more white black history for you, things you weren't taught in school. So this happened in 1898, which at the time they had some progressive movements. I'll give North Carolina. They had a biracial government, which was ultimately overthrown by white supremacists. And it's the only successful coup on American soil to date. To date. At the time, this was a group that challenged white supremacy with black Republicans and white populists. That's what I mean when I say a biracial government. So they had something pretty progressive going, and white supremacists were just like, axe that. So the media there was actually a big part of it too. The Raleigh News and Observer actually ran a bunch of white supremacist propaganda, which is crazy. I know, crazy. It's effectively ended the progress that was done during the Reconstruction era, and it kind of led to stricter and harsher Jim Crow laws in that area. Crazy thing about this is, it was pretty much erased from history. It only recently popped back up to be like observed and checked out and looked into. We're over 100 years past there. I don't know what happened. We dropped the ball, America. To this day, the exact amount of casualties unknown, but basically a bunch of white supremacists burnt down black neighborhoods. Any middle class like growth and development for black communities was completely disrupted. It completely erased the middle class of African Americans in the North Carolina area, specifically around Wilmington, which is truly unfortunate because those repercussions don't just come back in the next they don't just come back in the next generation. They're still seeing the effects of this from today. To this day, the exact amount of casualties unknown. So they killed as many people as they can find. And for the record, they also burnt down these black neighborhoods, but they also burnt down a black newspaper, which I think is really important to know in that story, because if you can't tell your side of the story, if you don't have a news outlet to share your side of the information, it's literally gone. And that's exactly what happened in this instance. For decades, there was either misinformation about this or we just left that out. So it's in recent years kind of come back into light. There's a further, not investigation, but there's more reporting, there's more information and knowledge on it. But imagine burning down an entire middle class of a section of the country because you don't agree with them being in office in a public space that they were voted into. Just set them back. But that's white black history.
So this is all I got from the video, and I love the fact that we are not the one saying it. Let them talk to themselves, because we've been screaming like all the horrible things they did to black people to this very moment, from then to this very moment, that they are still doing. So they can go around and educate themselves. Why the preparation is very, very important. And looking at things like this, I remember from the onset when I started, my channel, I was able to get into all this, trying to because I was also learning African American history. That was when I found out about Rosewood, so many places, Lake Lanier or something like that, a lot of black towns, black community that were taken down, and then they end up calling it, they say it's it was a massacre, but they say it was a riot. They always call it a riot, right? And like what he said, do you know what it takes? What it takes to do something like that? This is not something people wake up to do. This is something people plan so much ahead of time before they do it. But then they come out and tell it was just a riot that took away almost everybody's thing. And there is one that I also learned that really got me teary one day, people that lost most of their things and all that in their, their houses burned. So they went back to the bank to trying to get back their money and all that. And the bank was telling them, sorry, we do not have your ID card and there is no how we can give you money. Yeah. So people that lost their houses, lost their properties and all that, also, they lost their money. They couldn't even take back their money. Until this very moment, some banks are still withholding most black people's money to this very moment. And knowingly fully well that they moved. When this happened and you see black people again trying to pick themselves up, move to another neighborhood, and trying to establish and all that, and they look at it, oh my God, again, they are prospering. Why? Why would they be prospering? They come back again and they tell us it was a riot and it was a massacre. I mean, there are so many of them. There are so many of them. Am I going to talk about when palm-colored woman wakes up to say that a black man was after her life and all that? That is the end of that young black man. Mass incarcerations and how CIA planted drugs in the community. There are so many of them, but I don't want to just get into deep into it because I am hurting already. I am hurting that people went through all this and still they are still going through it. And somebody's telling me there is no need for reparations. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.